And it was a very difficult time. If you were a journalist, for example, you could lose your job if your ideas were left-leaning, or if you were a university teacher, again, left-leaning, or maybe ideas against the church, then you could lose your job because he had connections everywhere. So after that came what is called, oh yes, I almost forgot. This is a painting of Paul Dumais, a painter of that era, who signed something called the Manifeste du Refus Global. Refus Global means the global refuse, I guess. Refusal. And there were a bunch of artists, intellectuals who signed this manifesto. And the first sentence of it was, I have it translated here, not translated, but in French. I will translate it for you. The first sentence was: un petit peuple serré de près aux soutanes, restés les seuls dépositaires de la foi, du savoir, de la vérité, de la richesse nationale, tenus à l'écart de l'évolution universelle de la pensée pleine de risques et de dangers, éduqués sans mauvaise volonté, mais sans contrôle, dans le faux jugement des grands faits de l'histoire, dans l'ignorance complète et impraticable. So they were denouncing the fact that the church was controlling everything. You know better, and that people were kept ignorant of what was going on in the world. So and it was he was one of the main signers, I guess, Paul Dumais, and also Jean-Paul Riopel, which is another artist. And we have an abstract. Yes, go. Yes, I will drink a little bit of my abstract water. So this was from this period after the war, 1945 to 19. The manifesto itself was from 1948, written in Montreal. So it was, and this started what would come after that, which is called Révolution Tranquille, the quiet revolution, because there was no armed revolution. It was a political revolution, but we emancipated ourselves from the church and from many other things. As a French Canadian, we decided to call ourselves Québécois, because before that we called ourselves Canadiens or Canadien Français. You know, for example, the hockey team, les Canadiens de Montréal. But Canadien doesn't mean people from Canada; it means Québécois. If at that time when the team was named, it was named about the people, the French people of here. But we were calling ourselves Canadiens, not Québécois. It's only in the 60s that this term Québécois came in. So, and if you see, even in the official name of the hockey team is Canadien with an E and an N at the end, not Canadian with an A. It's written in French. And it's only later that the term Québécois would be hype or à la mode. So, Révolution Tranquille. This is a poster from Parti libéral du Québec, which is right-wing now on the spectrum of political parties. You always have to think of politics in Quebec with two axes. You have the traditional left-wing and right-wing parties, and also on the other axe with those who are for the independence of Quebec and those who are not, or alors les souverainistes et les fédéralistes. And at that time, Parti libéral was left-wing, or compared to what was before, compared to Duplessis, which I showed you earlier. And so you see that it was very aggressive poster with, and this is a symbol for, I guess, hydroelectricity. And that was the time when we and the slogan, the phrase here is "Maître chez nous," means that we are going to be master of our own destiny here. It's now or never. Maintenant ou jamais. And so the Liberal Party that exists today is very different from those, from the one that was going on at that, but the context is very different also. And Révolution Tranquille means also that the people of Quebec was opening up to the world. And I don't know if you can notice here, what is written there is Iran. This is the pavilion of Iran at Expo 67. It was the Universal Exposition in 1967 in Montreal. So that was maybe the time I was 5 years old at that time, and I remember going, I don't know if I remember going there as precisely, but it was a big event all the summer of 67. And people were discovering for the first time, they were opening to the world, and it was a very exciting time. I have a few memories of that. So you see the little train here, in the mine. No? Yes.
Can I just add a short thing about the previous image too? Like the symbolism of electricity,
right?
Is because before the Quiet Revolution under Duplessis, all the natural resources had been sold to American interests for very little money, and none of that money was staying in the province. And in the 1960s, one of the promises of when they finally managed to kick out the party of Duplessis, one of their main promises was to nationalize.
Right, nationalization of it was nationalization of electricity, the creation of Ministry of Education, of the system of CEGEP that we have right now.
Because before that, education was done by the church, religious.
Right? And so, and if you watch the movie of Denis Arcand, I think it is Les Invasions Barbares. At some point there's a dialogue between two characters, and they are talking about it was almost overnight that people stopped going to church. They were fed up with the priests and so on. So in a very short period of time, so that's why we call it a revolution, but it wasn't a real armed revolution. What?
What was the year?
It's the Quiet Revolution. Usually, you put it from it's the 60s, from 1960 up to the end of that period. And lots of nice projects in Montreal. Also, Expo 67. What is doing next? Oh yes, the same year. If you travel, I happened to travel when I was young. I think it was in Indonesia. One of my first travel it was in the 80s, and when you said to people that you were from Canada, they would say, "Oh, mounted police." And if you said that you were from Quebec, they wouldn't know what Quebec is. But a few people would know, and they would say "Vive le Québec libre" because that was the main event of that period. This is General de Gaulle from France, and he's talking now in Montreal in the summer of 1967, I think. 24 of July of 67, and he said to the crowd that was gathered there, "Vive le Canada, vive le Québec," and then "Vive le Québec libre," which means long live to free Quebec. So people got crazy, and at that time, the idea of the independence of Quebec took a turn, so that the new political party, Parti Québécois, was formed. There was already other parties for that, but it crystallized So this is a very